Hello everyone, this is Jessica from Stamp Punch Love, and this is the project we're making today. It's a sweet little fold flat box is what I'm calling it. It's really similar to our tint box that we did before, but it's wider. It has no diagonal score lines, so it's more smooth-sided, and it is of course fold flat. So you can do it with the bow closure that I'm going to show you today in the video, or you can do it with the brad closure that you saw on kind of the front page there. You can see it has a lot of room on the inside. There is a huge handful of candy corns. I love candy corns, and they're in stores right now, so I had to use them. I'm going to start with a piece of cardstock that is 8.5 by 5.5. This is Pool Party, and we're going to score at 2.5, and then at 4, and then at 6.5, and then at 8. And then we're going to rotate and score at 1 1/8, at 1 1/4. I know those are really close together and it seems silly, but there is a reason. And then we're going to go at 3.5, and then again at 5. Okay, so we're done with our scoreboard. We're done scoring all together. Like I said, we're not doing diagonal score lines. So we're going to go ahead and fold and burnish all of our score lines. And as I said before, I like to do the long ones first. It just seems to make a straighter bag. Okay, so now we are going to cut a bunch of places, and I will have a diagram / template on my blog, just because this can get a little complicated. And so we're going to cut on the side that has the 2 score lines close to it on the long side. We're going to cut the long strip starting with the narrow rectangle all the way down. We're going to keep the last big rectangle only. So cut all that down. You can use your trimmer if you want, or you can just be brave and hack it off with some scissors. Okay, so we've just designated, well, we already designated, but we just created the top flap of our box. So now we're going to cut away the narrow rectangle and the little bitty square on the bottom of our box. Okay, now we are going to cut up each section of the flaps, but we're also going to get rid of the last big rectangle with its narrow rectangle attached. So the one under the flap we created on the top. We're going to get rid of that. And I know this seems really complicated, but it's really very simple, guys. If you get confused, look at the diagram on the blog. So we're going to get rid of the narrow rectangles on the 2 square flaps and notch ever so slightly. It's with full flap boxes, you have to notch your flaps if you want the box to close or the bag to close, but you can't take too much out of it if you want it to stay closed. So you just do a whisper of a hair of a notch, and if you need to take more, you do, but always start with the minimum amount when it comes to full flat boxes. Okay, so all of our cutting is done. Now we are going to round the corners of our bottom flap. This is just going to help it close really nicely, plus it looks good. So that's done. And now for our top flap, you can just round the corners if you want, but I'm going to use my curvy corner trio punch to make pretty corners. So do that. Remember to flip things over with the curvy corner trio punch to keep things symmetrical. Okay, so now a little bit of adhesive. I'm using my tear and tape, which we all know I am just falling in love with because it is a really sturdy adhesive. So get that down, take your backing off, and then tuck over any excess, flip it over, and boom. That's the only sticking we're going to do. Fold in your flaps, fold in your bottom, and that is your construction basically done. You're just going to pinch that in. You'll notice that the little 1/8 of an inch, place there allows for a nice even closure. Something, live and learn. Something we didn't do on our tint box, but I really liked the effect on this one. So I'm going to sponge the edges just to soften it up. Of course, this is optional, so I'll speed through. I'm using Bermuda Bay ink on my pool party there. So now I'm going to take my Cardstock stamp set and the Wedded Bliss one, because this one is ode to party favors or wedding favors, and then I'm going to take my 1-inch square and punch out that Wedded Bliss that I just did in the Bermuda Bay. It wasn't designed exactly to be used with this. You do get a little bit of that Bermuda Bay edge, but I like it, so I'm doing it. Do whatever floats your boat. Okay, so that's done. Cute little guy there. So now we're done with our ink, we can put it away. And now we are going to take our hole punch and pop in a little hole. This is an 1/8 of an inch hole punch. Kind of center it up a little bit. Now, take your paper piercer or a pencil and make a mark for yourself. And now punch another hole. If you were doing a brad, you wouldn't need the second hole. Okay, so of course those line up, thankfully. That's why we make the mark. Alright, so we're going to take our Bermuda Bay thick baker's twine and put a loop through our hole here. And then we're going to tie a knot in that loop. That's going to let us have our ends to make a bow with, but keep it secure. Just fluff with the twine for no reason. Make it more difficult than it seems. Or that wow, tongue-tied. Never mind. Just go ahead and tie your knot. Ta-da! Knot. Okay, so now you're going to feed your ends through your flap. Okay, and I'm sure a lot of you are really awesome and don't need this next tip, but for me, I take a little mini clothespin and hold down my flap so it doesn't fight me while I'm tying my bow. And the great thing about the way we're doing our closure is if you're one of those people that tie pretty bows but they're always upside down, you can just flip it over. No one will ever know. Okay, so bow done. And now we're going to put on our little stamped bit. Take a Stampin' Dimensional and put it on the flap. I know normally we put it on whatever sentiment we're going to be popping up, but put it on the flap so you know that it won't be hanging off or anything. And then place your stamp bit. Ta-da! I'm going to go ahead and trim up the tails on my bow. You can leave them long if you like. It'll be easier to tie and retie it in the end, but I did end up tying and untying this one several times, and it's easy enough, at least for me. But there is our cutie patootie little full flat bag. So you can make a bunch of these and just fold them flat, leave them alone until you need to fill them up for whatever party you're throwing. This is an alternate closure over on the right. I used an 1/8 inch brad with a 1/4 of an inch hole. It's absolutely fabulous, and I hope you have an excellent day, and I can't wait to see your versions. Thanks, guys.